Hello my friends, I'm Frankie and welcome to Club Foodie. Bread. Ugh. I get so weak when it's freshly baked. The aroma stimulates my appetite. There are so many tasty bread recipes on the website, and here's another one. Ciabatta bread. This Italian loaf has a nice crunchy crust, along with a soft, airy, and chewy crumb. Its mild flavor, with a slight tangy taste in the background, makes it the perfect pairing for soups or any sauce you want to dot in. It also makes great sandwiches. So let's get baking. We'll go ahead and make our biga, which is a pre-fermented dough. I'm normally not precise to the point to measure with a scale when I make bread, but I do for this recipe. So we'll weigh 130 grams of bread flour and transfer it to a bowl. To this, we'll add a small amount of active dry yeast and give a quick whisk. We'll slowly pour in half a cup of lukewarm water, stirring until well combined. We'll cover tightly with plastic wrap and then place a clean dish towel over. We'll let it rest on the counter for 24 hours. My kitchen is cold, so to let the dough rise, or in this case, let the biga ferment, I place it in my oven. What I do is to turn the heat to 350 degrees Fahrenheit just for a couple minutes, then turn it off, make my biga, and then transfer the bowl to this cozy spot. Alright, so the next day, we'll add active dry yeast to the bowl of a stand mixer, some lukewarm water, and just a little bit of honey because yeast loves sweet. We'll give a little stir and let the mixture proof for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, we'll combine 2.5 cups of bread flour, some ground sea salt, and if you want, some seasoning. I'll be using my homemade Italian seasoning, but rosemary, oregano, or chives can be delicious options. We'll whisk the ingredients until nicely blended. Now, here's the biga after a day, and the image on the right is from yesterday. Big difference, isn't it? Alright, so let's go back to the stand mixer. We'll add the fermented dough to the bowl along with the dry ingredients and also half a tablespoon of olive oil. Using the dough hook attachment, we'll process on low speed until mostly combined before increasing to medium speed. We'll process until the texture of the dough is uniform. It won't be smooth, but rather lumpy, and it's okay. Also, it will be sticky. Look at my hands, all gummy. So what we'll do now is to cover it with plastic wrap, place a towel on top, and transfer it to its cozy spot in the oven. We'll let it proof for 30 minutes. Half an hour later, we'll take it out from its spot, and this is a step we'll be repeating 4 times. First, we'll wet our hands with water. Now, starting at the top of our bowl at 12 o'clock, we'll slide our fingers under the dough, then stretch it and fold it down over to the opposite side of the bowl, which is 6 o'clock. We'll turn the bowl 90 degrees, which is a quarter turn, and repeat again. Slide our fingers under the dough, then stretch it and fold it over the opposite side. We'll repeat until we did 2 complete rotations with the bowl, which is 8 stretch and fold motions. By the way, you'll probably need to wet your hands a few times so the dough doesn't stick. When we're done with our first set of 8 stretch and folds, we'll cover again with plastic wrap, Then the dish towel and back to its cozy spot. We'll let the dough rest for 30 minutes. When time is up, we'll repeat the same 8 stretch and fold set for 3 more times, allowing the dough to relax 30 minutes between each, always covering during the resting time. As the dough gets super sticky, instead of using water, I lightly oil my fingers. It makes the task easier. When we're finally done with the last set, I admit, it takes a while, but I'm telling you, it's so worth it. We'll gently form a ball by pulling under and place the dough in a bowl lightly oiled. We'll cover with both plastic wrap and a dish towel before transferring the bowl to the fridge for 8 to 24 hours. A few hours later, or the next day, we'll remove the dough from the fridge and bring it back to room temperature. Now, that's pretty. Very puffy and bouncy. It's perfect. About 45 to 60 minutes later, we'll drop it onto a work surface that we generously floured. We'll gently stretch out the dough and shape it into a 7 by 12 inch rectangle. Generously flour the top and our hands as well. We'll cut the dough lengthwise, and from here, we can either keep the 2 pieces and make loaves with them, or cut them into smaller pieces to make buns. Your choice. Next, we'll place a piece of parchment paper on top of a large cutting board and lightly flour the paper. We'll carefully transfer the loaves or buns on it, and if we have to, we'll reshape them. We'll leave a couple inches apart so they have room to expand during baking. We'll dust the tops with more flour and cover with a clean dish towel. We'll let the loaf and buns proof for 2 hours. An hour later, we'll position one oven rack at the very bottom of the oven and the other rack in the center. We'll now place a large baking sheet on the middle rack, upside down, or if you have either ones, use a flat cookie sheet or a baking stone. And then turn the heat to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. We want the oven and the baking surface super hot. Another hour later, and we're ready to bake. So we'll carefully but quickly slide the parchment paper onto the upside down baking sheet. Now, in a large roasting pan, we'll add about 4 cups of ice cubes and place the pan at the bottom rack. We'll quickly close the oven door and bake for 20 to 22 minutes or until the tops are light golden brown and the internal temperature reaches 200 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll transfer them onto a wire rack and allow it to cool for at least 45 minutes before slicing and serving. And my friends, this is our ciabatta bread. This classic Italian loaf is a great recipe to make. It pairs perfectly with soups, stews, pastas, or use it to make delicious sandwiches. I hope you give it a try soon, and be sure to visit clubfoodie.com for ingredient amounts, directions, and more info. Until next time, my friends, bon appétit!